Pacing refers to how long an anime spends on each part of its story, and the time it takes to progress. Fast pacing tends to mean that a show will show lots in a quick amount of time, whereas slow pacing tends to mean that a show will give you little information and stretch it over a long period of time. In this video, I want to go over some shows which have good pacing, some shows which have bad pacing, and discuss the effects of both good and bad pacing in anime. Let's start with good pacing. When an anime gets pacing right, viewers will be more likely to stay glued to their screen and invested in a story. This all comes down to how a show uses its intense payoff moments in a meaningful way. Take for example Attack on Titan. I think Attack on Titan is a pretty well-paced show that sandwiches its big reveals and action-packed moments between enough build-up and downtime that make them end up feeling truly satisfying. I think the show has good pacing as it chooses to spend its time building anticipation to each big payoff, rather than having too quick a pace and effortlessly rushing to the next hype moment. Another show that I think is paced well would be Evangelion. Evangelion spaces its climactic fights with the angels in such a way that allows us to spend a good amount of downtime between each battle. This time in between angel fights allows us to enjoy some more relaxed moments, as well as giving us a chance to grow closer to the characters of the show and reflect on previous fights. The fact that we take this time to have this reflection and become more in tune with the characters of the show means that future angel fights have even more intensity and even higher stakes due to our growing care for the characters in the show. Now onto bad pacing. Where good pacing can bring a viewer further into the show, bad pacing does the complete opposite, as it is likely to remove the viewer from the show and decrease their immersion. Take for instance Dragon Ball Z. This show was my first proper experience with anime, as although I had seen shows like Pokemon as a kid, it wasn't until 2014 when I started high school and a friend recommended Dragon Ball Z that I really knew what anime was. This may seem unnecessary to bring up, but my point is that this was not a good introduction to the medium and it almost put me off anime completely. This was mainly down to the show's poor pacing. Dragon Ball Z had an awful tendency to needlessly stretch out fights way past their welcome. Fights tended to consist of needless dialogue and boring filler rather than the actual, fighting, which dragged the show out for way too long and made the show pretty unbearable to me. And honestly, I ended up dropping the show after a difficult slog through the Frieza arc. Another show with pretty rough pacing is One Piece. Now, don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore One Piece. It's my favourite series of all time and the manga is an easy 11 out of 10. But it's hard to ignore the obvious flaw that the anime has, and that's its pacing, mostly in the modern era. Generally speaking, I think early One Piece had a decent pacing, but it's in recent years that it has become undeniable that One Piece has a serious pacing issue. Most episodes of the show consist of pointless fillers that take up chunks of the episodes, recaps that last almost a quarter of the runtime of the show, that go over things that you literally watched the week before, and annoying reaction shots of characters that last seconds at a time. And all of this ends up resulting in modern One Piece barely adapting even one chapter per episode. This leads to situations like the Dressrosa arc, being 102 chapters long, yet somehow managing to have 118 anime episodes. That's honestly insane. Once again, I absolutely adore One Piece, but the pacing of the modern anime is undeniably messed up. Overall, an anime's pacing is incredibly important to a show's quality and can often make or break a show. Good pacing can enhance an experience, whereas bad pacing can completely destroy a show and remove any desire for a viewer to watch it. So there was my take on pacing in anime. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Anyway, see ya!